coach, I always like to have my big guy around me. At least he can throw a rock big as he is, right? Come on in, big guy. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, my name is David L. Archie. I'm your Hinds County Supervisor for District 2. I know quite a few of you paid attention to the election on this past Tuesday, and where this particular election in Hinds County District 2 was perhaps unbelievable. And when things are unbelievable, sometimes you have to pay a little bit more attention to what has taken place. And what we believe that has taken place appeared to be a criminal act. It's an high-tech election heist with fraud and corruption. A high-tech election act with fraud and corruption. I'm here to tell you this morning the person and company that is being alleged, which appears to be, in fact, after we did our investigation, that has been a part of this matter on at least 5 different occasions here in Hinds County and other counties, possibly 6 or 7 different elections. Her name is the recent convicted felon, Tony Johnson. Tony Johnson has participated with election system and software. They have a relationship. This relationship has been prepared, at least we believe, allegedly, on 5 different occasions. And I have someone here this morning that is that famous word of broke the case. Her name is Cynthia Johnson Walker. She is to my left. She is the one that actually broke this case. On Tuesday night, we had no idea what had happened and what had taken place in our election. And having to have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Walker, she broke down how Tony Johnson was involved in 5 different elections with election system and software, ES&S. And she was perhaps, on 4 occasions, was the campaign manager for ones that won these particular cases. In one case, in Yazoo City, she was the campaign manager for the mayor, the sitting mayor, and she won. The sitting mayor, her name was Diane Delaware. Ms. Delaware won that election. 4 years later, Tony Johnson showed up on the scene, cut a deal with Ms. Delaware to run the election in Yazoo City. And then after she got the deal done to run the election, she went to the highest bidder. And his name, who is the current mayor, David Starling, who's the current election. So she went against Ms. Delaware in 2022. Guess who won the election? David Starling. In another case, and I'm going to let Ms. Walker explain all the cases to you, but what broke the ice was my case on Tuesday night. If all of you can remember Mayor Marcus Wallace in Edwards, Mississippi, Tony Johnson was brought in by the mayor and the aldermen in Edwards, Mississippi to run the election in Edwards, Mississippi. And after she was brought in, she pulled the same thing that she pulled on Miss Diane Delaware in Edwards. She then went to the highest bidder. We don't know how it took place with the highest bidder in Edwards, but she left the Marcus Wallace team, and with the sitting current mayor, Lakeiston Caston, I believe that's his name. Caston. We'll just use the last name Caston. Who's the current mayor there? And she won that case. On every single case moving forward to my election on this past Tuesday, it was talked about and heard of that Tony Johnson had moved in with some other big fish here in Hinds County, and that she became the campaign manager for my opponent, Anthony Tony Smith, someone that nobody never heard of. People in Hinds County District 2 was absolutely shocked on the other night to how in the world did this happen. Well, it happened because you can't beat a cheat nor steal. And that was in place. It was in place before it actually, the voting machines got to the precinct. And we're gonna break it down and we're gonna explain it to you. Ms. Walker have a lot of information. But the bottom line is this. We're gonna ask the Hinds County District Attorney's Office. We're going to ask the Attorney General's Office, the Mississippi Secretary of State, the FBI, and the Department of Justice to immediately come together here in the state of Mississippi to prevent corruption and fraud of elections in the state of Mississippi, starting with my case here in Hinds County. Again, it is a criminal act and a high-tech election heist with fraud and corruption all over. And it started with a recent convicted felon, Tony Johnson, the former election commissioner with Hinds County District 2, allegedly, as well as ES&S election system and software. I'm gonna allow Ms. Cynthia Johnson Walker to come to the podium. She's gonna explain a few things because she's been involved in this over a year. Nobody would pay her any attention concerning this matter. And so when it happened to me, now it is on the big stage. You know that I've been fighting corruption in Hinds County in the state of Mississippi for the last 4 years. And the only way that it can continue, corruption in Hinds County can continue if they get Supervisor David L. Archie out of the way. And we're gonna make sure that those that are involved are arrested, whether you are the candidate or if you was involved. We want a thorough investigation to come forward and take matter when it comes to this issue with a known sitting convicted felon that was the Hinds County District 2 election commissioner, and she's all over the place committing criminal acts. And so with that, we're gonna bring Ms. Cynthia Johnson Walker forward as she can discuss some of these matters.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Cynthia Johnson Walker. I reside in Yazoo City, Yazoo County, and I am speaking my personal experience, my personal exposure, my personal walk, entwining with Tony Johnson. Tony Johnson came into Yazoo City blazing. She was there in 2018 on a contract for the city of Yazoo City to run our election. Instead, she bedded down with our mayor at that time, former Mayor Diane Delaware. She even attended the ballot box review while she representing that candidate while she was on contract for the city. Following that election, at that ballot box review, Tony Johnson was present. That was my first encounter. 2022, I ran. And the general election, the city municipal election for the position of mayor. Tony Johnson returns back to Yazoo City. And the primary, she was supposed to work for Diane Delaware. But then in turn, she worked for David Mel Stalling, the prevailing candidate. But here's what took place. Listen to me really good. ES&S has this relationship with Tony Johnson. They provide machines, election machines. One of our techs was a man called Greg Drake, D-R-A-K-E. And he makes the announcement twice. I have been accused of voter fraud. And I say, how so? He says, machine manipulation. Now you can find Mr. Drake in Columbus, Mississippi. He works for the city there. He's an IT person. He says, through voter machine manipulation. And I say, repeat that. Because at that time, I had called for the city election commissioner. I wanted her to hear his statement. He repeats it. She then asked, what was the outcome? He laughed, he chuckled. He says, there is no outcome because candidates cannot afford to challenge in court. They run out of money. So you'll never know if I actually cheated or if it's just implied. Well, I decided to watch him in the primary. And then I caught him, Miss Tony, Greta Winters, dead red-handed in machine manipulation. You see, many candidates do not attend what's called the audits. These primaries are ran by the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the parties. And candidates must represent themselves or send someone to represent them because the machines are being set up. And so if you don't have a representative, you don't know if that machine is on zero or not. You don't know what the voter count is. Well, when they finish the audit with me present, and the audit ends at 12 o'clock, and we're dismissed, I have on record those who can attest to that our city clerk, the county election commissioner, who had no authority to be involved in our city election, no interlocal agreement, no authority, this tech. They were back in the building where the machines are kept, and that was at 3 p.m., but the audit ended at 12 o'clock. Every seal that went on those machines during the audit, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to understand when I tell you when they arrived at the polling places, every single seal was changed. They went into those machines. And I will have you to know Yazoo City is a small place and we all know each other. Then came 10 days before the election. You're gonna get 92 votes. You're gonna get 92 votes. Ms. Walker, I'm gonna bet you $100. You're only gonna get these 90 plus votes. And guess what I ended up with? Never mind, I have over 800 people who tells me not only did they vote, but they voted for me and that they would attest in court. These people preset and predetermine the number of votes you're going to receive. So it matters not how many voters come to the poll. I can tell you that the city of Yazoo has no contract. They did not pay in whole for our election. I'm going to have to say, I think the term is airdropped. Our election machines dropped into Yazoo City. I have in writing from the city attorney, call Miss Lily Bass. She's the attorney. She will tell you she does not, the city of Yazoo does not have a contract for 16 out of 20 machines. There's no invoice. There's no claim docket. No one will attest to or own up to who paid for our city election. Did any of you all? Was it free? And in addition to that, when I visited the county will tell you they did not authorize any of their machines or any of their material to be used in our election. I stand before you to tell you that Tony Johnson runs through these counties, going to those who can pay the most, manipulating elections. I can call her name because I have her dead wrong. I can call the name of Mr. Greg Drake because he was a part of what I saw. They put those serial numbers on those machines in my presence. I can tell you that the building custodial person has attested to me and to others. Those people went in that building where those machines were several times. I can say that because I've done my homework. I have done my investigation. Tony Johnson needs to be held accountable. On 3 different elections that I was involved with, she did the exact same thing. The exact same thing, the exact same outcome, but the difference on the 3rd one, it was personal. So I sit and I watched. I took notes. I can tell you every serial number. And the good thing about it is, I am a ballot box review person. And so I had reviewed previous ballot boxes, and many of the encoders and the access badges were from previous Yazoo County elections. But the county's going to tell you they had no part in it. They did not authorize their county election commissioner to be a part of this election. I am telling you, I filed complaints with the Attorney General's office. And at one time, they were calling me every other day asking questions. And then it went stale. I later learned that investigator no longer worked with the Attorney General's office. So I stand today, when I heard, I've never met Mr. Archie a day in my life. But when I heard the confusion, I said, I know the story. I've already bared the stripes. I was present. I know exactly, and I am excited that he gets an opportunity to do a ballot box review. But I tell you, it lies. Her blueprint, her DNA, her blood is all over the stealing, the roguishness, and the thieving of elections in Mississippi. And I am Cynthia Johnson Walker. I approve this message. I stand on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Walker. As you know, that when I went to bed on Tuesday night, when I met with nearly 30 of my workers and my supporters, we talked about something was wrong. We had discussion about something was wrong. I did not have no idea what had taken place until the following day, Wednesday morning, when I was notified that there was 5 different cases allegedly that Tony Johnson, ES&S, which is election system and software, has been together on the winning side for these candidates. Now, we want a thorough investigation. This is corruption and fraud at its best in Mississippi, starting with this capital county. I had no idea that this would be a matter that I was getting ready to take on. I'm not a sore loser. I've lost on several occasions. This criminal act and high-tech election heist that is full of fraud and corruption this particular case should straighten out everything that is taking place here in Mississippi when it comes to election fraud as well as corruption. Tony Johnson don't get to be that lucky on 5 different occasions involved with the same allegedly software company, ES&S, is right there with her on every case. 3 cases in Yazoo and 2 cases in Hinds County. Now this is the cover-up, and y'all listen to me good, because when we did our investigation, we found out the same thing took place in Yazoo. They put out a lot of signs and literature. They get money to go and make it appear to be that this candidate is a real strong candidate, that this candidate got support of the community. And that's the way it looks. But when it comes to the ballot box, it's a totally different story. I noticed signs and information, anybody but David, went up all over the county in Hinds County District 2. Anthony Tony Smith, a candidate that was never heard of, that was brought to the table, that has been meeting, and we have pictures in downtown Bolton of her, Tony Johnson, along with some Democratic Party members. We have the pictures. A party member has no business meeting with candidates on any official business. We have the pictures. And what I'm telling you, this person that has recently been convicted of election and was a former Hinds County election commissioner for District 2, it is unbelievable that she runs around throwing her weight around, because it's our understanding there's a real big fish that is behind her and protecting her. She might as well come on to the table.
We're here.
We're going to be absolutely certain
We're here.
that the Hinds County District Attorney's Office,
We're ready.
that the the Attorney General's Office,
We're ready.
want to make absolutely sure that the FBI,
We're ready for them too.
we want to make absolutely sure that the Justice Department
Ready for
and the
House
Secretary
Justice
of State
Them too.
be that does get on it and get the job done. Tony Johnson, ES&S, is allegedly running around corrupting elections in this state. And we're not going to tolerate it. And I'm going to be the first to speak up and to speak out to make absolutely sure that it comes to an end. I'm committed to that. And I'll take on any questions that you have, as well as Ms. Walker.
So I'd like to ask Ms. Walker a question, because you said a lot You made a lot of allegations. Where's your proof? You delivered a conversation that you allegedly had. Can you show pictures or give us recorded conversations that took place? Do you have that with you now?
Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this audience, to provide the state of Mississippi, to provide any listening ear, anyone that will receive the Mayor and Board of Aldermen's conversations during their meetings on their agenda about we did.
Do you have it with you today?
I have some of it with me today. I can show you on my phone. We also have where I requested public record who authorized this county commissioner to be involved in the city election. And that note's going to show you the city did not. And who authorized, where is the interlocal agreement? We don't have one.
Yeah, but Tony just, I'm talking about specifically Tony. But Tony is not involved in interlocal agreements. I just want you to speak specifically on what you have in regards to Tony Johnson.
Tony Johnson. And then we go to these campaigns that are ran by Tony Johnson, and she is attending these meetings with our Democratic executive, Democratic executive parties. Yes, sir, absolutely. I am not alleging. I can give you witnesses.
I would like to see that.
I can provide you witnesses. I can provide you names. I can provide you with the recordings from the city clerk who states we're going to get these machines and who they're coming from.
Let me just say, come step to the side. Let me just say to you.
There's a process called discovery.
Let me just say to you. This matter is really serious. No one individual is going to receive anything until we put everything in the hand of those that are going to investigate this matter. And then we will move forward to providing whatever they want to release to the press. You know, we know that she's a convicted felon and that she's been involved. And we're going to start there. And we're going to allow the Hinds County District Attorney's Office, the Attorney General,